So the question is, how can we frame an intro to art class so that it's not only teaching the fundamentals of art, but inspiring students to think with big ideas and push the norms of an introductory class? Some of the sub-questions that should be looked at are, what are the projects that we already see within the intro to art class? How have intro to art classes already evolved? How can big ideas be incorporated into skill-based lessons?
Art education has been impacted by the standards and testing culture like all other disciplines. And in a lot of ways, we've been focusing on teaching things that are concrete. Things like elements of art history, and foundational skills. In essence, we're teaching things that we can test and assess. But I believe art education needs to focus on developing learners that think like artists, learners that are creative, curious, seek questions, develop ideas, and play. Which means we need to be much more intentional about how we communicate art's critical value and how we teach for creativity. They found the number one thing quality art education can do is develop the capacity to think creatively and the capacity to make connections. I work at the Columbus Museum of Art, and for years now, we provided the kind of art education that our community requested. So for example, when we had an exhibition of the work of Claude Monet, we talked about his history. We allowed folks to experiment with his materials and his process. And then we finally would create lesson plans and allow others to do the same. In essence, what we were doing was generating content and allowing folks to make mini Monets. But then it dawned on us, we weren't actually engaging them in what made Monet Monet. And that was the way he thought. Monet's ideas were revolutionary. He questioned the natural world, the way we see. He questioned the politics of the time, and that's what made his work so exceptional. It was at this moment we realized we needed to be teaching for idea generation.
We'll look at terms such as big ideas, appropriation, and autonomy. There's definitely some assumptions going into this. I'm going to go into this research project with the assumption that aside from the amazing Mizzou grads, many teachers continue to use the same projects that they have for many years. And those do not include the use of big ideas. I think there are many teachers that teach the way they do because it's how they were taught, which is a mentality we need to stop. I'm limited because I don't have a classroom of my own to look at. It would also be helpful to already have connections with the district that I'm in, so it'd be easier to reach out and schedule observations and interviews. Some of the main points of the related literature that I looked at focused on things like art education and how imperative it is to cognitive growth and problem solving, and the ability to think about multiple outcomes. They talked about fostering creativity and how it's important in many career choices. They also talked about how the standards are oftentimes hindering arts curriculum because either time is being taken away from the subject, or the focus is more on how they'll be assessed rather than learning itself. I believe that if we can foster a more autonomous introduction to art curriculum packed with big ideas, we'll help our students in their ability to think creatively and generate deeper meaning, all while learning the fundamentals and processes of art making. This research will help me to identify areas within the Introduction to Art class that need help. The idea is to see where we can elevate our lessons so they're not just teaching skills and fundamentals, but so that they're causing students to use critical thinking and search for deeper meaning within their artwork.